Hi everyone, this is the Real World Blockchain. I am Gauthier and this is Hughes. Hi, how are you?
Hello, Gauthier. It's always a pleasure to be here with you.
All right, so today we want to talk about the statement from Maxim Sakharov, the guy who's the CEO from DioBank Wi-Fi. And Maxim Sakharov said that basically everyday use of crypto for remittances, payments, and savings is something that is not taking off that much in G20 economies, but that the future lies in the developing world. And so the logic behind that is that, and this is something that we had at the Mutual Knowledge podcast with one of our guests who said, well, euro and dollar are great products, and even should these countries collapse totally and even not be able to basically emit any type of currency, their currencies would probably survive, just like under the Roman Empire, there were currencies that survived way
Yeah, that's true.
longer than the empire itself.
Absolutely.
So. As long as we have great products, well, great is really, uh,
That's
well, that's
that's
debatable. But
far-fetched.
as
Yeah,
as long as we have barely functional products in the world
absolutely.
of fiat currencies, such as euro and dollar, yes, obviously, people do not have an incentive to go towards the use of crypto, and so that's why the B2B market uses cryptocurrencies quite a lot, whereas the B2C market doesn't really want to hear about it in the developed world. That's very condescending to say the developed world, but
I know, but we
I'm
understand
not
that.
the
That's
one
fine.
who coined the term, but
Absolutely.
yeah. And so Maxim Sakharov says that remittances, payments, and savings is something that would thrive in the crypto world in unstable economies. What do you think about that?
Well, it's true. I mean, here in Europe and I guess in the US as well, in most of the developed world, as you said, we kind of got the hodl mentality, right? We use cryptos as a store of values, speculation assets as well. Speculative assets. Now with the ETFs, etc., coming also like this year, the past few years, and there are so many ETFs on like stable altcoins coming up in the next few months as well. So we didn't really develop the payment aspect, I guess. I mean, there are some companies doing it right, but it's not as prevalent as we could imagine. So it's more of a store of value or speculative asset. Whereas in other countries, like thinking of like Nigeria, I mean, even Somalia, we've been there, in the Philippines, in South America as well. Thinking about Argentina, obviously, with the huge inflation. Um, it's not only like a speculative asset, obviously, but it's becoming more and more an actual replacement for fiat alternatives, especially when we take into account the fees. I know that in some of those countries, there are like 5, 7, 10% fees on remittances. So it's actually the difference between putting food on the table and losing basically most of what you earn or during transaction, right? So I think there's a real case to be made for the development of crypto as an actual payment solution in these countries, and we are seeing it happening right now. I guess I think there are more than like a 50% increase in transactions, in actual daily transactions, B2C or C2B transactions in some of those countries in the past year. So it's increasing, and we're seeing it happening right now.
Yeah, that's a spectacular increase indeed. But that's interesting because the original manifesto of Bitcoin was basically, okay, let's just have a decentralized system that allows payment without government ruining the value of our currencies,
Mm.
which is something that I found very sane at the time. Now, interestingly, a big chunk of the crypto supply is owned by VCs, venture capitals,
Institutions, absolutely. Yeah.
and financial institutions that contributed to these very same economic crises that Bitcoin was built on, like Bitcoin was built in reaction to these financial crises. And funnily, the main actors, like huge Wall Street operators and funds like Vanguard, BlackRock, and so on, who have the GDP of a small, who have this, who in size rival the GDP of a small country. These guys are basically now investors in cryptocurrencies.
Absolutely.
I don't know if this is because capitalism is really amoral or is because of something else, but interestingly, this is now really the speculative world that all the critics, basically all the people criticizing cryptocurrencies were afraid of. It's interesting because
It just, yeah,
in 2012 these guys were basically telling us, no, this is a horrible tool because you just want to get rich by using it.
absolutely.
And the enthusiasts were like, we can get rich with it, but mostly it's because we're doing quite a lot of use, we're having
Yeah.
quite a lot of useful cases. And now it's the opposite. Like genuine crypto enthusiasts are saying, oh God, this has turned into pure speculation. So, but not the way the critics were basically not the way. They were not saying it that way. They were basically
Initially, yeah.
they were criticizing the fact that it was getting value, and they didn't understand the way it was increasing its value, but mostly because the financial system was flawed. And now the critics of cryptocurrencies are seemingly not considering that that it's a bad thing to have BlackRock investing it. Like, what a plot twist! What a shift! It's interesting. Anyway, the funny thing is that in Nigeria, for example, in Lagos, they have stablecoin payments. In Buenos Aires, they are using that. They have inflation hedges, and in many other places. Whenever I go to a cryptocurrency conference in Africa, in any African country, I always see very sane entrepreneurs. And it's funny because when you look at that in France, most of these guys are like, yeah, we offer you asset management and that kind of stuff. This is cool because you can get rich. Some people are trying to use buzzwords in order to get money. And the guy's like, yeah, I'm just here to get some grants and have a good time for a while. And in Africa, most people are like, yeah, we're building payment solutions for honest businesses. So the sociology of it, the social background is very different.
Completely different. Yeah, I see what you mean.
So,
But they
yeah,
have a real use case. Yeah, they have an actual use case, almost a survival use case, right? And I think it's also due a large part to the fact that mobile payments are so developed over there, right? There's a whole type of payment infrastructure that we don't use that much in Europe, in the US, etc. Whereas over there, it's like the main payment solution. They have, I think, is it in those countries like Ghana, Nigeria, etc. They have like PayPay, I think it's called. They have just
yes.
like quick payments on their phones, and they are just starting to implement crypto solutions in that, so they can bypass the intermediaries and get more bang for the buck, I guess.
Wonderful. And that's also why I believe you're going to Ghana this month, aren't you?
Absolutely. So as part of Web3 Enabler, I'm going to the Dreaming event, so around Salesforce and crypto payments in Ghana on the 16th of November, I believe. So I will be there representing and hopefully making some great connections and seeing how all this works and how we can also implement our solutions over there and make them available to everyone.
How wonderful. This is interesting because Sakharov is, you know, it's interesting. He was criticizing the America First policy of the people who are working in this field, in the field of Web3. He was about saying, America First fixation has forced players to create products that appeal to all the institutions that are heavily regulated, such as custody, auditability, compliance, tokenized assets, and everything. But that policy has basically pushed entrepreneurs, to ignore the lightweight and mobile-first tools that solve pain points in the real life for lower-income countries. And this is interesting because that means that in the future we should probably look at Africa, South America, and a part of Asia to see the future of these technologies. And when is your trip to Ghana again?
The 16th of November, so in just a couple of weeks.
Okay, so not next episode, but the following episode is going to be your feedback, your retext about that place. All right, wonderful.
I'm sure I have a good time.
That's interesting. Okay, so last data for you guys, dear listeners, but in the latest crypto adoption report, Chainalysis found that Southeast Asia, the Philippines, and other places were really saving quite a lot in their remittance fees. But also in that report, they said that Sub-Saharan Africa has now the strongest indicators of everyday cryptocurrency use, even though it's the smallest crypto economy by transaction volume. It's the sanest one in terms of everyday life. And that's interesting because sometimes you can see, if you look at bubble maps, you can see lots of transactions between wallets. So that means that there's something genuinely happening. Whereas in some other countries that are so-called developed countries, well, you can see that there are huge wallets that never move. And from time to time, they make a huge transfer, but mostly it's holding. It's about hoarding, hodl. Yes, it's about hoarding assets and not using the tech for what it is. So the report says that for the year to June 2025, so just in 6 months, Asia Pacific was also the fastest growing region of on-chain crypto activity. So like 69% year-on-year increase in value received. So same thing with Latin America at 63% and Sub-Saharan Africa 52%. This is absolutely mind-boggling. That shows that the future is indeed the next billion crypto users is going to be in Africa and in South America and Southeast Asia.
It's quite crazy because if you think about it, it kind of means that the actual crypto revolution will come from those countries and not the developed world, right? Those billion, probably more than a billion users. I think there are like one or 1.5 billion people in the world who don't have banking access or something like that. So can you imagine that if they all go on chain and start actually using cryptos and Bitcoin, obviously, as a main transaction asset? Is crazy, man.
Yeah, and the incentive is huge because people hate not feeding their families for some reason. So
a weird reason, yeah, absolutely.
yeah, so that's pretty cool actually. I think that's the fact that some countries are not hindered by regulations that are mostly built by the vested interest groups. Yeah, well, the people who have an interest in regulating, basically, not the people. Well, I find it very. There's a sense of karmic justice in that.
Yeah.
So more about that next week, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you'll bring back from Ghana in 2 weeks.
Sure.
Thank you, everyone. This was The Real World Blockchain. This episode brought to you by Web3 Enabler, the first and only payment solution in cryptocurrencies on Salesforce for your business. Why not in all of the non-G20 economies? Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.